Hi, I'm Susan from Chef Suse at Candyland Crafts, and I'm here today to show you this wonderful flower bouquet of cupcakes that just is a really nice gift for someone, or just to do something fun for yourself. We are using 5 different cupcakes. You can make a larger bouquet if you'd like. I'll be showing you different buttercream techniques with a couple of different tips, and hopefully you have fun. You can use your imagination with it. If you've gotten a kit on candylandcrafts.com, I will show you what you'll receive in that kit. You will get 6 cupcakes, buttercream, 2 gel colors, a pink and a green. We're going to be using the pink just in 2 shades. As you can see in the picture, I just use very, very little in one of them because a little bit goes a long way, and it does continue to get darker as you go. And also a leaf green, we even do that with a little variation. You will also be receiving 6 pastry bags, 3 couplers, I'll show you how to use those, 3 piping tips. One is a rose tip, and I believe it's a 64. It's a really nice tip. You could do a lot of different flowers with it, but it's basically called a rose tip. The other one is a cone tip, and it has like a little U shape there. That I use a lot for a lot of different flowers as well. And then there is a leaf tip, which we're going to use for leaves and also for a flower petal. You'll also receive, I'm not sure what color, but you'll receive a decorative board to place your cupcakes on. The other things that you'll need would be a bowl. Actually, you might need several bowls, even smaller bowls, a scissor, a couple of spatulas. An offset spatula may help also. But one thing is for sure, it is a little confusing with all the different techniques in the bags. My suggestion is that you go through the video first and listen to it, take a few notes, because I change quite a bit with the couplers from color to tip, different bags, and different types of techniques. And what I did was I filled all the bags first, and you'll be able to take notes again to see what coupler goes in what bags. I believe 2 or 3 of the bags, 2 bags, we're not using a coupler at all. So the best thing to do, go through, take your notes, and then follow along. We'd love to see your pictures. So when you do finish the project, please send us your pictures. We're definitely going to post them. And also, if you have any questions, please put them on comment on Facebook. Send us an email at sales@candylandcrafts.com, or you can even reach out to me, Chef Suse. It's ChefSuse.com, or Chef Suse on Facebook. So without any further delay, I'm going to go ahead and move the camera and go through the cupcakes, and hopefully you have fun. Thanks. Okay, so we're going to go ahead with our buttercream. I put into a bowl because I want to add some more powdered sugar. You want to put it through a fine sifter. This way you can make sure there are no hard pieces of sugar in there that will impede your pastry bag. You don't want to get that tip clogged. So you just mix it in so you get a nice stiff consistency. You don't want to get too much air in there, so you have to be a little bit careful with that. We have our pastry bag, our couplers, and our tips. We have our leaf tip, number 68. The number 81 is a U-shaped tip, and then the 104, your rose-shaped tip. And we'll be interchanging those as we go. So you want to take your pastry bag and fold a nice cuff over the sides. This helps put the buttercream inside the bag, and more importantly, it helps keep your hands nice and clean and your work surface nice and clean. You want to make sure the outside of the bag doesn't get buttercream on it, because you'll be doing a lot of piping and it starts to get slippery. Your hand does get tired after a while. So here's the part of the coupler that goes inside the bag. This allows you to interchange all your tips. You want to put the coupler in, bring it down, be a little conservative here, clip off the tip of the bag, and as you can see, the bag is still over the tip of the coupler. You want to go back a little bit further, but not too far. Clip off a little bit more, push your coupler through, and you want the pastry bag to just sit right around that edge. Okay, at this point, you're just opening up the bag. You take whatever tip you're going to be working with. In this case, it's that number 81. It's a U-shaped. You put it on the edge of the coupler. Screw on the top. Just make sure it's nice and even. Fill up that pastry bag. Some parts of this I'm going to speed up a little bit. So you want to get all that buttercream in there. Give it a little jiggle. And then fold up that cuff. And flatten out the bag a little bit, so you want to make sure that you get all the air out of it. So just kind of give it a little tap and pull out the air. You can take a little pastry scraper or any type of scraper and just kind of push that down a little bit. Again, make sure there's no air in there. Twist the bag, and as you can see, I've done the other colors. I've done a light pink and a darker pink. We're going to start with the white because we have 3 cupcakes in the white. I'm going to have to put the buttercream in the refrigerator in between each flower because the buttercream does start to get soft. Your hand gets warm. We're going to start by keeping the tip just off the edge of the cupcake. You're going to squeeze and pull, and you're keeping that U shape up so it is like a U, not the other way around like an N. And I'm doing about a quarter size round on this particular flower. This is the carnation. And I just carefully go around. You could practice on a piece of parchment first if you'd like, just to get the feel of the bag. The pressure is going to come from the top of the bag. You don't want to squeeze the center of the bag. So I did that first ring. Now I'm going to fill in the center. And then I'm going to go around the edge all the way around. Tighten that bag. Every time you tighten it, you want to keep even pressure. Make sure that that U is up again. And then getting as close in as you can to the cupcake, the previous piping. We're still going to fill in, and we can do that on this particular cupcake, but you want to get as close as you can. You can see, if you go in a little bit closer, that there are some areas that you can see the cupcake. But I'll go back in and be able to just fill in those areas a little bit. Just keep turning it and looking at it to make sure that you have all those areas full. And again, it's just squeeze and pull, squeeze and pull. You stop the pressure right at the end and pull the bag off. And again, you could practice on parchment and then scrape the buttercream off, put it back in the bag, and then try again when you're ready to do your cupcake. And I fussed quite a bit with it, so that's why I sped it up. You'd be watching me all day long. Your hand does get tired after a while, and so they get warm, they get tired, so we put that buttercream in the refrigerator to chill it down. So I went to the pink. I switched out the tip on there. I put that U number 81 on the darker pink pastry bag. And now I'm going to place 3 flowers at least. I think I go over and do more than 3 flowers to show you. Your hand does get tired. You can see mine shake a little bit. So again, you're going to do a smaller, maybe a nickel size. You start the flower off to the side on the cupcake, not right in the center like the other one. And don't worry if your buttercream sticks a little bit, gets a little sticky. Just keep going. That means there wasn't enough pressure. I don't know if you can notice on that bag, I did not stir that pink completely through, so you see darker colors inside the bag. And I did that on purpose. That's to give the flower a little more definition, because no flower is the perfect even color. So that does help to make them look a little more realistic. So you just go around as you did with the other flower, the other carnation. These are like baby carnations. And you just go around until you're happy with it. And then you could put more flowers. Usually they say odd numbers, but I think I end up doing 4 on this cupcake, which is not an odd number. But just fill in any little spots that you see. And every once in a while it gets a little tricky Just got to make sure you dry your hand off. My hand's getting a little sticky, so the bag starts to slip. Again, with that U shape facing up, you want to just fill in that cupcake. And if it does start to get too soft where it's not releasing from the bag, that's when you want to pop it in the fridge again for a little bit. You might want to pull that pastry tip off, otherwise the pastry tip gets super cold and then you have trouble getting the buttercream out again. So remove the pastry tip from the coupler when you put that bag in the refrigerator to chill it down. And again, don't chill it too long because then you'll have a problem, maybe 10 minutes tops. Keep the pressure even by turning the bag. Here I'm going to start on another flower on another part of the cupcake so that it looks like we have a few little baby carnations. And then do the same thing in another section. You can always go back and add a little bit more in this type of flower. Little mistake there, just take a little toothpick and you could just pluck that right off of there very carefully. You could also chill it and then it comes off even easier, but I was able to get it pretty quickly. Because you'll make your mistakes, but sometimes the mistakes end up becoming a really unique part of the flower. So you just kind of have to go with it. So here I am doing a third flower on here. Just take your time, turn it, and might as well put a fourth flower in there for you. Again, you squeeze the bag, release, and pull up. Release the pressure. When I say release, what I mean by that is just release the pressure. And there's another cupcake that we have. I'm going to put that off to the side. We have those two carnations, the regular carnation and the baby carnation. I got the white back out of the refrigerator, and now we put the leaf tip, which is number 68, on this bag. And I'm making a different type of flower. This leaf tip I use all the time, and I love it for a sunflower. But this is also another flower that you could do. I don't know what you would call this flower, but it is in the cream color. And again, you keep the tip straight up and down with a leaf tip. It's not flat. It would be at a straight up and down angle. And then just go around the cupcake. And you want to keep the bag at an angle so that it's a flatter type of flower. And you could put center in this flower. I think on the picture that we have, it does have a little bit of a center in there, a green center. I don't do that in this video. But you can certainly stop there and just put a center in. So it's a little spiky, maybe a dahlia, I would call that flower. Again, remove the end of the coupler. You're going to wash that out, and now we are going to use the rose tip. This would be the 104. So we want to put that back on the coupler. You'll notice it's a thin side of the rose tip. Hands get a little tired, so give your hands a quick little clean. You want to make sure that when you do your roses, stretch. You want the thicker. You want to make sure they're not too warm as well. So you'll notice on the rose tip there's a thin end and a thicker end. The skinny part up. You want to make sure for this particular flower that the thicker side of the tip is. Sometimes I work flat closest to the cupcake. It's easiest that way. And again, you don't want to touch the tip of the cupcake, not the tip to the cupcake. And you just want to make a little swirl inside, turn the cupcake around, and then you're going to just start overlapping your piping swirls right around. You want to overlap the sides. You don't want to have the same cover flower, the previous petal, just one right behind the other. You definitely want to make sure that you're going to overlap the petals. And again, you just pull, and a little pressure. As soon as you stop the pressure, you pull away. And I'll start another one. You could also do these on parchment paper and then put them on your cupcake if you're a beginner. You put them in the freezer, and then they're easy to just pop right on top of the cupcake. But you can do it this way, where you do more than one. You want to make sure that tip is nice and clean when you do these roses. We're going to put another one there. And you want to hold the bag quite at an angle. It's kind of sideways. Where the other flowers we were kind of straight up and down, this one we're definitely at an angle. So you can do those little rose petals. And we'll do a few different sizes and even maybe a couple of buds on the side. We would just do a few turns. And we're going to put some leaves in between, so you want to leave a little bit of space there. And make sure that tip, again, is nice and clean. Okay, so we have that one. We're going to put that one off to the side. Now we're going to remove this tip. We'll wash that out. You want to wash them out right away, otherwise the buttercream does harden in there and it's tough to get. Usually you have to get a toothpick in there. So now we're going to use the light pink. And we're going to use, I believe this is the rose tip again. So we'll put it back on the light pink bag. We're going to do a peony with this. So I showed you the roses, the small roses. You could do large roses if you like. But now we're going to do the peony. And it's similar to the rose, except that your angle of your hand in relation to the cupcake is a little bit different. You're going to start out again with your hand kind of up high a little bit and moving around the cupcake. Make sure that tip is super clean for this one. You can clean up any areas just by kind of tapping it back into place. And I don't know if you can notice here, my petals are a lot longer for this peony. And as I get out further away from the center, I'm starting to tip the bag up a little bit at a higher angle, so it's a little bit more closed than the rose. And again, long petals, and you'll get a different effect. And here, I like this is would be a peony. So, and it is a larger flower. That's also a little space in there. I just put a little dab in there just to cover up. And there you have your peony. Okay, so now we have all of our cupcakes, the flowers anyway. We're going to come in and we're going to put the leaves and the stems. So we're going to grab that leaf tip, again, number 68. That's what we did the dahlia with. And we have 2 bags. We're not going to use a coupler for this one. We don't need to at this point. So we're going to put this leaf tip in this bag. You can see where the bag should be. You don't want to impede the V on that leaf tip. And then I have some buttercream, which I stiffened also already, and I added some green, and I just stirred it just slightly because I want to get some variation in the green leaves. So you're going to put that in the pastry bag. I'm going to leave a little bit in the bowl because now I want to stir that completely to get a solid green without any variation. I'm going to take that and put it in the last pastry bag, no tip at all. We just want to get a lot of definition with these leaves. Again, you had done that whole fold over, the cuff on the bag, so everything stays nice and neat. Fold it up, get the air out of it. This one you might have to push down a little bit more. And just scrape that down so it stays nice and neat and your hand won't slip if the bag gets sticky. So we will then cut a tiny, tiny tip off of that bag. For now, we're actually going to cut it twice, but for now we just want the tiny tip. And now here's the leaf bag. You just want to make sure you pull it through so you have some of the green coming through. And again, on the leaf tip, it's straight up and down. When you're doing a leaf, squeeze and pull. Squeeze, release, and pull, I should say. And then just pop all these little leaves in between all of your little, in this case, the baby, what are they, carnations. And then we have the other larger carnation. We can just go around the side. And you'll notice the green is light in some areas, dark in others. Just really kind of gives it a nice variation, a little more reality. Tighten that bag up again, and then we're going to go into the roses. And here the green will be a little bit darker with the roses, because again, each flower has a different shade of leaf. And just go in and fill in all those areas. We'll grab the peony and just put a few leaves, and you can do spiky leaves. So I'm kind of pulling a little bit more pressure and pulling out a little further so you get a spiky type of leaf on that. You do want them to have a little bit of difference. Oh, sorry about that, out of the screen. But on our little dahlia, we're just going to put a couple of little leaves. Now you want to take your board and just take a little time here to place your cupcakes wherever you'd like them. I kind of fussed a little bit. That didn't work for me, so I said, no, let me do it another way. When you finally do find how you like your cupcakes, you want to put a little buttercream on the board, and that way the flowers will stick there. So it'll be like a little glue. Then you're going to take the pastry bag with the leaf tip, and you're going to start piping leaves, and you're going to start by making sure they're attached to the sides of some of the cupcakes, because it is a hole there, and you don't want to fill that hole all with buttercream. But as you go, you can just attach that to fill in that hole, buttercream to buttercream. So now I cut just that tiny edge. This is going to be a little difficult to see, excuse me, because I have to go at a straight up and down angle. But what I'm doing with that little tiny hole is just creating these little, almost like ice cream cone piping. And what that is going to do, we're going to put a little bud on top of those. So it's going to look like a thicker stem with a little bud coming up. So if you stretch out the camera, you'll be able to see. But again, it's just like a little ice cream cone that's coming up. And then I'm going to take one of the other flowers, actually the flower colors, the pale pink, and just put the tiniest little top so it looks like a bud on those flowers. You can also just kind of take a little bit off with a toothpick, and you could put it on that way. If you wanted to take another pastry bag and just cut a tiny tip in it, you could do that, but you're really not necessary, because you just want this little, you don't want a perfect circle, you just want this little tip on those little tiny buds that are in the center of your bouquet. So I used a few different colors just to get a little variation. I did the dark pink, the light pink, and then the white. Oh, it's like a creamy white, actually. It's not a pure white. And again, I'm sorry it's hard to see from this angle, but it's just a little tiny tip on top of each one of those swirls. You'll be able to see it more in the final picture. And of course, I'm going to fuss a lot more. Okay, we're still going to add a few more of those. What I'm going to do with this pastry bag, once I have these little tiny swirls done, I'm going to cut the end of this bag off so we can do the stems. So that's how you'll use one bag for two different. I have the bag with the coupler, it doesn't have a coupler, with the tip. I'm going to cut that off at this point, and then I'm going to add the rest of that buttercream into the bag with the tiny cut tip. Fold it over, squeeze that buttercream in there, and now I'm going to cut a larger end. And this is going to be used for the stems. Now you want to make sure you just, that nice thick pressure, and you don't want to just have straight stems coming down. So you do want some of them, just keep looking at it. You want the stems to look like they're coming from the flower. So some may be curved. Here I go in with a curved one. I'll come down the other side now, and I'll just fill in a little bit more, because you want it to be a little 3D. So I'm not just going to do them flat on the board. The next 2 or 3 stems are going to be on top of the other ones, so that it looks more rounded and a lot more 3D. Okay, and you can make as many stems or however long you'd like. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the ribbon around the side. And using the ribbon, I'm going to use the darker pink. I'm going to start with that, or did I start with the... Yeah, we did the darker pink, and just kind of squeeze a little. It doesn't matter what tip is in there. You're just going to squeeze a little ribbon and just have fun with it. So that's going to be the lower, darker color. And then the center, I'm just going to build it up a little bit. It's hard to see what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of putting a little bow, so like a little loop, but I'm going to cover it in the lighter pink, so it just is going to give that bow a little bit more depth. And again, you just kind of play around with it depending on how thick you want that ribbon. This one, again, I am going to have 2 ribbons on here. You could do what you'd like, but you could see how I kind of did a little loop there, and that's going to support the lighter color once I come in with the lighter pink. And now we have the lighter pink, and I'm just going to press a little bit firmer because I really want a nice, thick, wide ribbon, a little bit wider than the pink one, and I'm just going to follow through. Here's where you just use your creativity and just have that ribbon just kind of flowing down. You can add on to the end, and now the bow in the center is just going to be just a loop. You touch it down, you loop up, and there we go, loop it around. And then you're just going to put the centerpiece, that's very hard to show you on film, but basically it's just that little center strip that you'd find in the middle of a bow. And again, just take a little toothpick if there's something you don't like and straighten it out. I hope you enjoyed this class. If you have any questions or comments, just let us know at Candyland Crafts or Chef Suse. Please also send us your pictures, tag us, we'd love to see it. Again, order your kits at candylandcrafts.com.